Well, hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I'm a regular dude walking in the Word, and I want to say Merry Christmas to you. Today is Christmas Day, and we are recording this to go out on Christmas Day, okay? And we've talked about all week the story of Christmas, looking at it through in the book of Matthew, okay? Remember, the book of Matthew was written, he was a Jewish guy, and it was written to a Jewish audience. So when he's writing this, he's tying in a lot of prophecies that the Jewish people would have known and different things. That was why it's written to the Jewish people. So today, this last episode that we're doing, it's entitled Wise Men Still Seek Him. We spent time yesterday talking about the wise men and how they were seeking God. We're going to go back over that same passage, but I want to point out today that the wise men, they sought Jesus, but you too should be the one seeking Jesus, okay? So let's read here today. This is taken from Matthew 2, chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. After Jesus had been born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw a star when it rose and have come to worship him." This is probably 1 to 2 years later after Jesus was born. So Jesus would have been in a house at that time. He's not in a manger. Okay, they didn't stay in the manger, the barn, and be born in a manger for 2 years. Okay, or one or 2 years. He's now in this house. And it says, later on, it says, verse 10, it says, coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary. It wasn't coming to the barn. He was coming to the house. So that we know this was later. Verse 3, when King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he called together all the people's chief priests and the teachers of the Messiah, of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. In Bethlehem, and that's what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will be shepherd of my people Israel. Again, that's a prophecy from Micah. If you go read the book of Micah, you'll find those exact words. And Matthew, he actually puts those words in his book, so you don't have to go back and look at Micah, but he quotes from the book of Micah. Verse 7, then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him," which is a big lie. He had no intention of going to worship him. He only had the intention of murdering anyone that was a threat to him. Verse 9, after they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. The key thing right there. The first thing they do is come down and they bow down and worship him. All right? I'm not getting down on my knees for much. All right? And not usually for a person. But these guys came down and they bowed down immediately to worship him. So they knew that Jesus was divine. I don't know how they knew, whether it was dreams or whatever was revealed to them, but they knew that Jesus was divine. And then they opened up their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And these gifts, well, the gold you don't use for burial, but the frankincense and myrrh are common things that are used in burial. And as we go through the Gospels, you'll see that they're used even in the burial of Jesus. They didn't embalm people back then. I mean, sometimes they did, the Egyptians did, and so Joseph was embalmed and so forth. But that wasn't a common thing. They just buried them, and if you had to bury them in a hurry, then you came back and put these the myrrh and the frankincense on that body to help with the stink, okay, you might say. And so a lot of times if you have like a dead animal laying in the backyard, you bury it so that the stink goes away. But what they were doing was they would take these spices on, and those odors would combat each other, so you wouldn't have such of that smell. Okay, so it's kind of funny that they gave this stuff, but then a lot of it would have been used in burial. I'm not saying this stuff was used in Jesus's burial, but some of this stuff would have been common for burial. Okay, the gold is speculated that it could have been used for Mary and Joseph to live on while they were in Egypt, because they fled to Egypt after this whole incident. And it says, verse 12, and having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. Okay, these guys, after the wise men, after they learned the truth about Herod, they had no intention of helping Herod in any way, and so they went back by another route. And they had been warned in a dream. Okay, God warned them in a dream, and so they went back another way. I want you to see here from this whole thing, though, the wise men were pleasing God in whatever they did. We looked at 3 days ago now, where Herod, he was just about pleasing himself. And you're going to find people like that as you spend today with Christmas stuff, that are just about pleasing themselves. You start a conversation and it has to be all about them, okay? Or all the gifts have to be directed at them. And you're like, what kind of craziness is that? Well, that's the way Herod was, okay? And usually you don't want to be around those people. And that's the way Herod was. He was a people pleaser to please himself, okay? He was a self-pleaser, you might say. But the wise men, they were there to glorify God, okay? That's what they came. And immediately they come to worship Jesus. So as we conclude this whole Christmas week here, my question to you is this. Are you like Herod, that are just out to please yourself, or for this Christmas time and for the future? Or are you like the wise men that were there to please God? And I want to conclude by just this one last statement. Wise men still seek him. Thanks for watching. I'm a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we jump back into Philippians, back in prison. Lord's blessing. I'll see you then.